NFL players are careful with their words. You learn that fast. Say the wrong thing about the wrong guy, it sticks, so you keep it safe. Great player. Lot of respect. We just have to execute. That's the language. Until it isn't. Every once in a while, something slips. A pause, a word they didn't mean to use, an answer that sounds a little too honest. And if you stack those moments over time, it stops sounding like respect. It starts sounding like acceptance, like they already know how this ends. Because by the end of Tom Brady's career, he wasn't a quarterback teams were trying to beat. He started to feel like something they were trying to survive. Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning matters. 2000 NFL Draft, Michigan quarterback, 6'4", 211 pounds. Mel Kiper Jr., the guy whose job is to know, files his report. And the language is fine. Brady, he says, is a straight drop-back passer who stands tall in the pocket, doesn't show nervous feet, and does a nice job working through his progressions. That's it. No buzzwords, no generational, no you can't teach it. Just competent, professional, someone who won't embarrass you. And even that was generous compared to the rest of the room. The wider consensus at the time, and this is the part most people forget, was that Brady was not an impressive physical specimen. That, even by the standards of 2000, when nobody was asking quarterbacks to scramble, and he was still seen as a limited athlete. You know what that language means in scouting circles? It means backup. It means clipboard holder. It means you draft him as insurance and pray you never need him. New England takes him with the 199th pick. 6th round. Bill Belichick, arguably the most paranoid talent evaluator in football history, looks at this kid and says something that tells you everything about where this is headed. I don't think we're talking about John Elway here, but I don't know how many of those there are. That's the ceiling, as far as anyone's concerned. Not Elway. Good enough to run your team. Not transcendent. Not legendary. Just functional. And the strangest thing? He looked the part. He looked exactly like what they said he was. Average build, quiet face, nothing that made you stop and stare. Nobody, not Belichick, not Kiper, not the other 30 teams that passed on him, was wrong to see what they saw. What they couldn't see was what happened when the pressure went up. And they were about to find out. September 23, 2001, New York Jets, Foxborough Stadium. Fourth quarter. Mo Lewis blindsides Drew Bledsoe. Brady standing on the sideline. He hears it from 40 yards away. He called it years later, and the way he described it tells you something. Not the clinical version, not it was a significant collision. He said it was the loudest hit I could ever remember hearing. And then, that changed a lot of things for this organization. Understatement of the decade. Because now the backup is in. The 6th round pick. The guy who wasn't John Elway. He doesn't look scared. He doesn't look overwhelmed. Teammates would later say he looked like he'd been waiting. 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Reads his progressions, makes quick decisions, doesn't force it. The most boring-sounding skill set imaginable, producing the least boring results in league history. Opponents adjust their language. Not dramatically, not yet, but slightly. They stopped calling him good. They started calling him smart. It's a subtle thing, but smart means something different than good. Good means you have ability. Smart means you're already 3 steps ahead of us. That's a warning signal, if you know what to listen for. Here's where it gets interesting, because around the mid-2000s, something starts changing in how defensive players talk about playing Brady. It's not about his arm anymore. It's about his eyes. Brian Urlacher, Hall of Fame linebacker, one of the most instinctive defenders of his generation, gets asked about the toughest quarterbacks he faced, and he doesn't talk about velocity or release point or physical traits. He says Brady and Peyton Manning know exactly what your defense is in, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to disguise, where your weaknesses are. Read that again slowly. He's not saying Brady is faster or stronger or throws harder than any other quarterback. He's saying Brady already knows the play you're running before you run it. Now, some guys pushed back on this. You'd hear it occasionally, especially early in his run. He's a system quarterback. Belichick does the work. Put another guy in that offense, you get similar results. It's not a crazy argument. 3 Super Bowls in 4 years with a coach that good? You could see why people made it. But here's what quietly dismantles it. The guys saying system were usually guys who hadn't faced him yet. The guys who had, they stopped saying it. Because once you play Brady, once you actually stand on that field and watch him scan your secondary in the first quarter, you stop talking about the system. You start talking about him. You stop calling your defense. You start calling what you hope he doesn't expect. There's a story, and it got talked about for years, about Brady literally writing "Find 20" on every play on his wristband, 20 being Ed Reed, the best safety of his era, the guy other quarterbacks just tried to survive. Brady's approach? Locate him before the snap. Every play. Your best weapon has become a data point on a quarterback's wristband. He's not trying to beat your scheme. He's treating your best player as a constraint to manage. And here's the thing that nobody says out loud, but that the language keeps pointing toward. He still didn't look like the guy doing this. Same quiet demeanor, same routine handoffs and checkdowns and short completions. Just a guy running an offense. Except the entire other sideline was trying to figure him out. Up to this point, they're describing him. After this, they start admitting things. Super Bowl 53, February 3rd, 2019. Rams defense, arguably the most talented unit in football that season. Wade Phillips running the scheme. Aaron Donald on the interior. Donald at this point is the most dominant defensive player in the NFL. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He wrecks game plans for a living. The Rams hold New England to 13 points. Brady throws for 262 yards. No touchdowns. By every technical measure, the plan worked. The Patriots win 13-3. And Aaron Donald, days, weeks later, in interview after interview, doesn't talk about the scheme, doesn't credit his teammates, doesn't analyze what went wrong. He says, "That broke my heart. I ain't gonna lie. I was down for like 2-3 months. I hated Tom Brady for like 3 years." That's Aaron Donald, a man who has made 300-pound offensive linemen look like traffic cones, a man whose default setting is controlled fury. And he's telling you that losing to Brady in a Super Bowl left him emotionally scarred for years. Not the team, Brady. That's not analysis, that's a confession. And the part that should unsettle you most, Brady barely looked like he did anything. 262 yards, no touchdowns. He didn't put up a number you'd frame. He just won. And while opponents were dealing with that, his own locker room was experiencing something else entirely. Before Super Bowl 55, his 10th Super Bowl appearance, at age 43, now with Tampa, he gets the team together. One of his Bucs teammates describes it afterward, says Brady is the only player I've been around, quarterback or coach, that what he says you believe in, like go out there and walk on water. You're going to believe it because he ain't going to tell you something he's not going to do. The only player, not the best, the only. If your teammates believe you can walk on water, what does that project onto guys across the line of scrimmage? February 5th, 2017, Super Bowl 51, 28-3. You know the outcome. Everybody knows the outcome. What matters here is what happened during the comeback. Because this is the moment the language around Brady breaks completely. Active players, guys who are in the league that season, who have prepared for New England, who have their own bulletin boards, are watching the comeback happen in real time and tweeting about it. Not analytically, just Tom Brady is the GOAT. Just, we're watching the greatest ever. Nobody's waiting for the offseason. Nobody's hedging. Just flat acknowledgement in real time from people who know what they're watching. And then after, Aaron Rodgers, another guy with a credible claim to the conversation, says he didn't need to win that to prove he's the GOAT, but just another part of his legacy. Peyton Manning calls it an honor and a privilege to compete against him. Listen to the shape of that sentence. Not, it was a great rivalry. Honor and privilege. That's the language of people looking back at something larger than a game. And when Belichick, the architect of all of it, gets asked in 2021 if Brady is tough to defend, it's as tough as any quarterback there is or ever has been. He says it like it's the obvious answer, like there's no real debate left to have. Here's the thing about all of it. Brady never looked like the guy causing it. Through all of it, the wristband notes, the cracked coverages, the Aaron Donald confessions, he just looked like a quarterback doing his job. Quiet, routine, unremarkable from a distance, and yet, by the end of 22 years, the people best positioned to evaluate him had stopped evaluating him entirely. Rodgers calls him the GOAT. Manning calls it an honor. Active players tweet it in real time, like they're watching history and can't help themselves. Donald admits he hated him for 3 years. By the end, they'd given up evaluating him. And sometimes, in sports, in any field really, when the people doing the evaluating quietly put their clipboards down, that's how you know the evaluation is over. That's the language, and by the end, it wasn't even language anymore. Subscribe if you want more of this. Not highlight reels, not stat breakdowns, the actual texture of what these careers felt like from the inside. Drop a comment. One defense, one coordinator, one game where you think Brady genuinely didn't have it figured out. We'll be in there.